I was sitting in a plywood hooch in Kandahar, scrolling through photos my buddy sent me, when I saw my wife in bed with another man, in my bed, in the house my grandfather built, while I was literally 7,000 miles away, dodging IEDs for a country she couldn't even pretend to care about. If you got some time and maybe something to drink, settle in. This one's a journey. 3 weeks ago, my wife was demanding half of my family's ranch in our divorce. Today she's driving a 2015 Honda Civic with $12,000 to her name, and the guy she cheated with won't return her calls. So yeah, there's a prenup, there's betrayal, and there's the kind of revenge that makes you question whether you're the hero or the villain. Spoiler alert. I'm still figuring that out. Let me back up. 5 years ago, I inherited 640 acres of Montana ranch land from my grandfather. The Hayes Ranch. Been in my family since 1890. Cattle operation. Sprawling fields that look like something out of a postcard when the sun hits them right. The land's worth about $3.2 million on paper, but most of that value is locked up in dirt and legacy, not cash. I'm an Army officer. Been in for 12 years. Currently, a captain in the infantry. The plan was always to run the ranch full-time after I retired from active duty. Until then, I leased the grazing land to our neighbor Earl, a 70-year-old rancher who'd known me since I was in diapers. My grandfather, William Hayes, died when I was 27. Heart attack, quick and clean, the way he would have wanted it. I flew home from my first deployment in Iraq for the funeral. The whole county showed up. He was that kind of man. Respected, fair, the kind of guy who'd give you the shirt off his back but wouldn't tolerate liars or cheaters. At the funeral, Earl told a story about how my grandfather once drove 4 hours in a blizzard to help a neighbor deliver a breech calf, then refused payment. "That's what neighbors do," he'd said. When the lawyer read the will, I found out the ranch was mine. My dad had moved to Billings years ago, worked in insurance, had no interest in ranching. My grandfather knew I was the one who'd actually care for the land. He'd taught me everything. How to mend fence, how to read the weather, how to know when a cow was about to calve just by the way she looked at you. He'd also taught me about honor, about keeping your word, about the difference between what's legal and what's right. The last conversation we had, he was sitting on the front porch swing he'd built with his own hands. Cedar wood, mortise and tenon joints, no nails, the old way. He looked out at the land and said, "Christopher, this place will outlast all of us. 5 generations of Hayes men have worked this dirt. Don't marry anyone who doesn't understand what this land means. Don't marry anyone who sees it as just money." I thought Amanda understood. I really did. I met her at a charity event in Great Falls 5 years ago, a fundraiser for wounded veterans. She was 28, an elementary school teacher, sweet smile, seemed grounded. She was volunteering at the silent auction table, and I bid on a weekend stay at some bed and breakfast. I had zero interest in, just so I could keep talking to her. I won the auction, asked if she wanted to use the B&B certificate with me. She laughed and said yes. I was stationed at Fort Lewis in Washington at the time, but I'd drive the 12 hours back to Montana whenever I had a long weekend just to see her. We'd spend weekends at the ranch. She seemed to love it, said the quiet was peaceful, that she could see herself living there someday. We'd ride horses, cook dinner together, sit on the porch swing watching the stars. She asked questions about my grandfather, about the history of the place, about what it was like growing up with all that space and responsibility. We dated for 18 months. In that time, I introduced her to Earl, to the local ranching community, to my parents. Everyone liked her. My mom kept hinting about grandkids. Earl said she seemed like good people. My dad, who's normally skeptical of everyone, said Amanda was a keeper. I proposed on that same porch swing at sunset. Classic, romantic, the whole thing. I'd planned it for weeks. Had the ring custom made in Bozeman. Simple band, small diamond. Nothing flashy because Amanda had told me once she didn't like ostentatious jewelry. I got down on one knee right there on the swing, and she cried, happy tears I thought, and said yes. We had a small wedding. 75 people, mostly my army buddies and folks from the ranch community. We got married on the ranch in late summer, golden hour, mountains in the background. Amanda wore a simple white dress. Her mom cried through the whole ceremony. Her dad walked her down the makeshift aisle we'd set up between the barn and the house, and when he handed her off to me, he leaned in and whispered, "Take care of my little girl," I said, "always." Looking back, I wonder if I missed signs even then. At the rehearsal dinner, Amanda's dad made a toast and said something like, "I'm so glad my daughter found a good man with a good future." The emphasis on a good future felt weird at the time, but I brushed it off. Later that night, Amanda's mom pulled me aside and said, "You know, Amanda's always wanted security. She grew up without much, and I think she just wants to know she'll be taken care of." I remember thinking, of course I'll take care of her. That's what husbands do. But now I wonder if taken care of meant something different to them than it did to me. My lawyer insisted on a prenup. His name was Richard Barrett, had been practicing family law in Montana for 30 years, had handled my grandfather's estate. He sat me down in his office 3 months before the wedding and said, "Chris, I know you're in love. I know you think this is forever, but the ranch has been in your family for 5 generations. You need to protect it." Amanda was hurt when I brought it up. We were at dinner, some Italian place in Great Falls she liked, and I said, "My lawyer wants us to sign a prenup." Her fork stopped halfway to her mouth. "A prenup? You think we're going to get divorced?" "No, of course not. It's just, the ranch is complicated. It's been in my family forever. The lawyer says it's standard for this kind of situation." "This kind of situation?" Her voice got tight. "What kind of situation is that exactly? The kind where you don't trust me?" "That's not what this is." "Then what is it? Because it sounds like you're planning our divorce before we're even married." We fought about it for 2 weeks. She'd bring it up at random times, in the car, watching TV, right before bed. "I can't believe you want me to sign a prenup. Do you think I'm marrying you for money? Is that what this is?" I tried to explain. "It's not about you. It's about the ranch. It's about protecting what my grandfather built. So, the ranch is more important than me? That's not what I'm saying. Then what are you saying?" Finally, I brought her to meet with Richard. He explained it calmly, professionally. The ranch was my separate property since I'd inherited it before marriage. Any future inheritance would be separate property, too. In case of divorce, she'd be entitled to 50% of our marital assets. Anything we built together during the marriage, joint savings, joint purchases. But there was an infidelity clause. If either of us cheated and it could be proven, the at-fault spouse would forfeit all claims to marital assets and leave with only what they'd brought into the marriage. Amanda listened, arms crossed. When Richard finished, she said, "So if we get divorced for any reason other than cheating, I get half of what we built together. But if either of us cheats, we get nothing." "Correct," Richard said. "And the ranch stays yours no matter what." "Yes," she looked at me. "And you think this is fair?" I didn't know what to say. Richard jumped in. "Mrs. Richardson." "It's Ms.," she corrected sharply. "Ms. Richardson, this is standard protection for inherited property. It's not personal." She signed it eventually. I remember watching her hand shake as she wrote her name. She didn't look at me when she finished, just pushed the papers across Richard's desk and said, "There, happy now." I should have seen it then. The resentment, the way she saw the prenup as me choosing the ranch over her. But I told myself she'd understand eventually. That marriage would smooth it over. When we got married a few months later, Amanda had $12,000 in savings, a 2015 Honda Civic, and $23,000 in student loan debt from her teaching degree. I paid off the student loans as a wedding gift. Thought it was romantic. Thought it showed I was committed. She cried when I told her. Said it was the nicest thing anyone had ever done for her. Now I wonder if she was crying because she felt loved, or because she'd just realized how dependent on me she was about to become. The first 2 years of marriage were good. Amanda seemed to adapt to military life. The moves, the long hours, the uncertainty. I got orders to Korea for a 1-year unaccompanied tour. Amanda stayed at the ranch, taught at the local school. That deployment went fine. We FaceTimed regularly. She sent care packages. She seemed loyal. When I came back, I got promoted to captain and transferred to Fort Campbell in Kentucky. Amanda quit her Montana teaching job, found a position in Tennessee. We settled into a rhythm. We talked about kids. I wanted them. Amanda kept saying, "When you're home more," or "after this deployment," or "when we're more financially stable." I gave her access to our joint account, $4,000 a month, which was more than generous considering she had her own teaching salary. But she started complaining about money. Started posting more on social media, building her military wife life Instagram following, buying things we didn't need. December 2019, I got orders for a 9-month deployment to Afghanistan, deploying March 2020. Amanda's reaction was supportive in public, ice cold in private. We had a massive fight about kids. She said, "You're never here anyway. Why would I want to raise a baby alone?" I suggested she move back to the ranch during my deployment. Free housing, her old school said she could return. She refused, said she wasn't going to be stuck in the middle of nowhere for 9 months. We compromised. She'd stay in Tennessee, visit the ranch sometimes, and I'd send extra money for expenses. Our last night before deployment, we made love, and she cried. I thought it was because she'd miss me. Now I think it was guilt, or relief. I deployed to a forward operating base in Kandahar province in March 2020. The first month, Amanda texted daily, sent care packages, seemed loving. I wrote long emails every week, called when I could. Phone access was limited, but I made it work. Month 2, month 3, her texts got shorter, less frequent. She stopped answering video calls, claimed bad timing, or she was busy with school. I noticed she was posting Instagram photos at bars, restaurants, always with friends. One photo showed her at a brewery with a group that included a guy with a man bun. I didn't think much of it. Then my buddy Marcus, who was stationed at Fort Campbell but hadn't deployed, sent me a casual text. "Saw Amanda at the gym with some yoga dude. She good?" I texted back. "Yeah, she's trying to stay busy. Good for her." Month 4, late June, Amanda's care packages stopped. Her texts were just busy, talk later, or random emojis. I told myself she was struggling. That deployment was hard on spouses too, that I'd make it up to her when I got home. I was trying to be understanding. Turned out I was just being blind. July 2020, month 5. I hadn't heard Amanda's voice in 3 weeks, just text messages. I scheduled a video call during one of my few windows of free time. She didn't answer. I tried again an hour later. She picked up, clearly annoyed, sitting in her car. "Hey, where are you?" I asked. "Just running errands. Can I call you back?" In the background, I heard a male voice. "Babe, you want me to grab?" Silence. Sudden, sharp silence. "That was just the radio," Amanda said, too defensive, too fast. The call ended abruptly. She texted 30 minutes later. "Sorry, bad reception." I lay awake that night on my cot, staring at the plywood ceiling of the hooch, running that moment over and over in my head. Nothing says I'm definitely not cheating like hanging up on your deployed husband and blaming it on the radio. I texted Marcus. "Hey, can you do me a favor? Just check in on Amanda. I think she's struggling." Marcus called me a week later on a secure line, which was unusual. His voice was tight. "Look, I don't want to start shit, but Amanda's been at that yoga studio a lot with the same guy, the man bun dude. She's allowed to have friends," I said. "I'm not going to be that controlling husband." "I'm not saying anything's happening," Marcus said carefully. "Just, they seem close, real close. I saw them at a coffee shop yesterday, laughing, and she was touching his arm. A lot. I asked for more details. Marcus described seeing them together multiple times, always the same guy, always too comfortable. Maybe I'm wrong, Marcus said, but you asked me to check. Part of me wanted to call Marcus paranoid. The other part wanted to fly home and burn everything down. I decided to trust Amanda. But I also started paying closer attention. I started checking her Instagram obsessively between patrols. Every spare moment, I'd pull out my phone and scroll through her feed, looking for clues. I created a timeline in a notebook. Yeah, physically, because that's what infantry officers do when they're trying to solve a problem. I started mapping everything: dates, locations, who was in photos, what Amanda was wearing, whether her wedding ring was visible. I noticed patterns. The yoga guy, whose name was apparently Trevor, appeared in the background of her photo starting in May. Just a blur at first. Someone in the distance at a coffee shop. A figure in the background at the farmer's market. By late July, he was in the photos, front and center, tagged as Trevor Walsh Wellness. I checked Trevor's profile obsessively too. 1,200 followers. His feed was a mix of shirtless gym selfies, pseudo-spiritual quotes about living authentically and honoring your truth, and motivational posts about breaking free from societal expectations. Every third post was some variation of, "You are worthy, you are enough, you are loved." His bio read, "Wellness coach, yoga instructor, living my truth DM for private sessions." Living his truth apparently meant living in my house. I scrolled back through months of his posts. There, June 15th. A photo of a sunrise over mountains that looked suspiciously like the view from my ranch. Caption, "Grateful for new beginnings." June 23rd. Trevor at a fence line, leaning against a post, cowboy hat on his head. The fence was weathered, wooden, the kind you only see on real working ranches. My fence. Caption, "Country living hits different out here." July 7th. Trevor on a horse. A bay mare that looked exactly like Rosie, one of the horses I kept at the ranch for riding. Caption, "Learning to ride, learning to trust, learning to be free." Amanda had commented on every single one with heart emojis. I felt like I was losing my mind. I'd stare at these photos during guard duty, trying to convince myself I was wrong. Maybe it wasn't my ranch. Maybe Montana had a lot of ranches that looked similar. Maybe I was being paranoid, but then I'd zoom in on details. The specific curve of that fence post, the brand mark on the gate in the background, the pattern of the mountains on the horizon. And I'd know. I fucking knew. The worst one was from late July. Trevor in a mirror selfie, shirtless, flexing. I almost scrolled past it, but something caught my eye. Behind him, reflected in the mirror, was a bed with a quilt. A very specific quilt. Blue and white, star pattern, handmade. My grandmother had made it. She'd given it to my grandfather as a wedding gift in 1952. It had been on my bed since I was a kid. I'd brought it to the ranch when I inherited the place. It was on my bed now, or it had been when I deployed. That photo was taken in my bedroom, in front of my grandmother's quilt. In the house my grandfather built. The caption, "Morning Vibes." Amanda had commented, "Looking good, babe." I walked outside the hooch, found a concrete barrier, and punched it. The pain in my knuckles was immediate and sharp, but it felt good, real. Something I could actually feel when everything else felt like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. One of the medics found me sitting there, hand bleeding, staring at nothing. "Sir, you okay?" "Yeah," I said. "Just needed a minute." He patched me up without asking questions. Infantry guys understand sometimes you just need to hit something. I sat outside for 3 more hours after that, watching the sun rise over the Afghan mountains, thinking about how I was 7,000 miles away getting shot at while my wife was fucking another man in my bed, under the quilt my grandmother made. Nothing, and I mean nothing, I'd experienced in 12 years of military service had prepared me for how that felt. I tried to logic my way out of it. Maybe Amanda was just showing a friend the ranch. Maybe that wasn't my porch swing. Maybe the hat was similar. But I fucking knew. That was my grandfather's hat. That was my porch. That was my home being violated by some Instagram wellness coach with a man bun. I texted Amanda casually. "How's the house? Everything good?" "Yeah, why?" "Just making sure." Neighbor said he saw an unfamiliar car in the driveway. There was a long pause before she responded. "Oh, yeah, my friend Trevor has been helping me with some yoga classes at the house. Cheaper than a studio membership." "Trevor?" "The instructor I told you about. You said it was fine if I worked out more." She was gaslighting me from 7,000 miles away. I couldn't let it go. I was barely sleeping, distracted on patrol. My platoon sergeant noticed. "Captain, you good? You seem off." I confided in him. He was divorced, knew betrayal intimately. He said, "Look, sir, I'm not telling you what to do. But if it were me, I'd want to know, not wonder." I couldn't hire a private investigator. Too expensive, too slow from Afghanistan. I couldn't fly home. No emergency leave for, "I think my wife is cheating." But I could ask Marcus to do recon. I called him again. "I need you to do something for me, and I need you to not judge me." I asked Marcus to drive to the ranch the following weekend. It was a 3-hour drive from Fort Campbell. He hesitated but agreed. "You've got my back downrange," he said. "I've got yours at home." I also started doing my own digital investigation. I checked our joint bank account. I had access via online banking. There were charges at restaurants I didn't recognize, gas stations near the ranch even though Amanda claimed she wasn't visiting, and one charge that made my blood run cold. $200 at a liquor store in the small town near the ranch. I screenshot everything, saved it to a private folder. I was trained to gather intelligence. Never thought I'd use those skills on my own wife. Early August. Marcus drove to the ranch on a Saturday. He parked on the road, used binoculars. Felt like a creep, he said later, but he did it for me. At 11 in the morning, he saw Amanda's Civic in the driveway and a beat-up Subaru Outback, Trevor's car. At 11:30, Amanda and Trevor came out onto the porch, coffee mugs, laughing. Trevor was wearing my Army PT shirt and sweatpants. My clothes. They kissed. Not a quick peck. A full, passionate, intimate kiss on the porch my grandfather built. Marcus took photos. 15 of them. He stayed until 4 in the afternoon. They never came back outside. He called me immediately, his voice shaking. "Brother, I'm sorry. I'm so fucking sorry." He sent the photos via an encrypted app. I opened them in the middle of the night, alone in my bunk. There they were, crystal clear, Amanda and Trevor, on my porch. Trevor wearing my grandfather's Stetson in one shot. Amanda in my bathrobe, the one my mom gave me for Christmas, in another. A zoomed-in photo showed Trevor's smug face under that hat, the hat that meant more to me than almost anything. My hands shook. I couldn't breathe. I walked outside, found a concrete barrier, and punched it. Bloodied my knuckles. The medic patched me up without asking questions. I sat outside for 3 hours watching the sun rise over the Afghan mountains, and I thought, I've been in firefights. I've seen friends die. Nothing hurt like this. This wasn't a brief affair. This was a relationship. In my house, in my bed. I went back through Trevor's Instagram, this time with clarity. The photos went back to May, month 2 of my deployment. Trevor at the ranch fence line. Trevor at the local bar I used to go to. Trevor at the farmer's market. Amanda's hand visible in the frame. One photo from late July showed Trevor in the master bedroom, shirtless, mirror selfie. I recognized the room instantly. My grandmother's quilt was on the bed. Caption, morning vibes. Amanda had commented with heart-eye emojis. Trevor wasn't hiding this. He was bragging, posting evidence like he was trying to get caught. And I'd been too busy dodging bullets to notice. I texted Amanda at 2 in the morning her time. Just 3 words. I know about Trevor. 20 minutes later. What are you talking about? I sent her one photo. Trevor in my army shirt kissing her on the porch. 3 hours of silence. Finally. We need to talk. No, we don't. I'm filing for divorce. Chris, please, it's not what it looks like. He was wearing Grandpa's hat in our bed. Don't insult me. She switched tactics, got defensive. You're never here. What did you expect? I typed back. I expected you not to fuck someone else in my house. I blocked her number. For 24 hours, I was non-functional. My platoon sergeant pulled me aside. Sir, you need to compartmentalize. We've got 4 months left here. You can fall apart at home. Something clicked. I'm an infantry officer. I know how to plan an operation. If I was going to burn this marriage down, I was going to do it right. I pulled out a notebook and wrote at the top, Operation Scorched Earth. I'd spent 12 years planning missions. This one was personal. Primary objective, protect the ranch, leave Amanda with nothing legal, expose the betrayal publicly. Secondary objective, make sure Trevor understands he was just a pawn. Success criteria, I keep the ranch. Amanda leaves with what she brought, the Civic and $12,000. Trevor ghosts her when he realizes she's broke. I contacted my lawyer, the same one who drafted the prenup, via email. I explained the situation in clinical, precise language, the way I'd write an after-action report. I sent all the evidence. Marcus's surveillance photos, Instagram screenshots, bank statements showing Amanda's lies about not visiting the ranch. I attached 37 separate pieces of documentation, each one labeled and dated. My lawyer, Richard, responded within 6 hours. His email was 3 words. Call me encrypted. We talked on a secure line. His first words were, Chris, I'm sorry, but legally you're in an excellent position. He reviewed the prenup clause by clause. The infidelity clause is airtight. She signed it, Sean. She was represented by counsel at the time. I made sure of that. She violated it. She forfeits everything. He broke down the assets methodically. The ranch, $3.2 million, my separate property, prenup protected. No matter what happened in the divorce, Amanda had 0 claim to it. Joint savings, $47,000. Normally in a Montana divorce, she'd be entitled to half. But the infidelity clause meant I kept everything. The 2018 F-150 I'd bought 2 years into the marriage. Technically a marital asset, but titled solely in my name and purchased with my military salary. Amanda's car, the 2015 Civic, hers before marriage, she'd keep it. Amanda's premarital savings, $12,000, she'd keep that too. So, let me get this straight, I said. She leaves with the same car and the same $12,000 she came in with. Exactly, Richard said, plus whatever personal belongings she can prove are hers. Clothes, jewelry, things like that. And she has no legal recourse. None. She signed the prenup. Montana recognizes prenuptial agreements, especially when they're properly executed like ours was. I had her sign in front of 2 witnesses, remember? Her own lawyer reviewed it. She can try to challenge it, but she'll lose and waste money on legal fees she doesn't have. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Not quite satisfaction. More like clarity. What about the house? The stuff in it? Legally, she's entitled to half of marital property, furniture, appliances, things purchased during the marriage. But realistically? Richard paused. Chris, she was conducting an affair in your home. A court's not going to look favorably on that, and more importantly, you have evidence she allowed a third party to live there, use your property, potentially damage it. If she tries to claim household items, we can counter with property damage and unauthorized use. I want this done right, I said. I want her to feel every bit of it. I understand. But Chris? A word of advice from someone who's been doing this for 30 years. Revenge is satisfying, but don't let it consume you. We'll hit her where it's legal, where it's warranted, and where it'll stick. But we'd do this clean. I drafted the divorce papers together with Richard over the next week. Every evening after patrol, I'd email him revisions, suggestions, details to add. The petition was 12 pages long. Petition for dissolution of marriage, grounds adultery evidenced by photographic and digital proof. Respondent has engaged in an extramarital affair during petitioner's deployment to active combat zone, violating the sanctity of the marriage and the terms of the prenuptial agreement executed on date. Per prenuptial agreement section 4.2, respondent forfeits all claims to marital assets and community property. Richard attached an 8x10 photo of Trevor kissing Amanda on my porch. He also attached a sworn affidavit from Marcus, describing what he'd witnessed during surveillance, a timeline I'd created documenting the affair from May through August, and 15 screenshots from social media showing Trevor at my property. I approved the papers, but I told Richard to wait. I don't want to serve her while I'm still deployed. Why not? Because I want to see her face when her world ends. And because... I paused. Because she might try to damage the ranch if she gets served while I'm overseas and can't protect it. Richard understood. We'll wait until you're home. When do you redeploy? November 15th. Okay, we'll serve her in December. Gives you time to secure property, change locks, document everything. While Richard prepared the legal strategy, I worked on the broader plan. Phase 2. Evidence distribution. I created a comprehensive evidence folder with multiple backups. Sent copies to my lawyer for the official record. Sent copies to my own personal email and to a cloud storage account I created just for this. Sent copies to Marcus for safekeeping. Sent copies to my parents with a long email explaining everything before Amanda could control the narrative. My dad called me after reading it. He was crying. I'd never heard my dad cry before. Son, I'm so sorry. Your mother and I, we loved Amanda. We thought she was good for you. I know, Dad, but you're handling this right. Your grandfather would be proud. You're doing this with honor. You're not being cruel. You're just protecting what's yours. My mom got on the phone. Christopher, are you okay? Really okay? I will be, I said. Phase 3. Social strategy. I needed people to know the truth, but I needed to do it carefully. I didn't want to seem vindictive or like I was harassing Amanda. I just wanted the facts out there before she could spin some story about being a victim. I compiled a public evidence package, a sanitized version without the most invasive photos, but enough to show what had happened. I drafted an email to send to key people. Amanda's family, close mutual friends, my command. The email was professional, brief, factual. I ran it by Richard to make sure it wasn't legally problematic. He approved it with one change. Remove the word betrayal. Just stick to facts. Phase 4. Property security. This was crucial. I called Earl from Afghanistan, using my satellite phone minutes. Earl, I need a favor. Anything, son? Amanda's been unfaithful. I have proof. I'm divorcing her when I get home, but I need you to keep an eye on the ranch until then. She might try to, I don't know, take things, damage things. Earl was quiet for a long moment. Then, "That's sorry, son of a bitch. I'm sorry, Chris. Yeah, I'll watch the place. I'll drive by every couple days, check on things. If I see anything wrong, I'll call the sheriff. Thank you." Chris, your grandfather always said, character shows in crisis. You're showing yours right now. Staying calm, staying smart. That's the Hayes way. I also changed every password I had. Bank accounts, email, utilities, social media, everything. I created a spreadsheet, documenting every password change, every account, every date. I removed Amanda as an authorized user on our joint credit card. I put a fraud alert on my credit in case she tried to open the new cards in my name. I transferred our joint savings, all $47,000, to a new individual account at a different bank. When I told Richard about the money transfer, he said, That's aggressive. She could claim you're hiding assets. I have evidence of infidelity. The prenup says she forfeits everything. I'm not hiding assets. I'm protecting them from someone who's already proven she can't be trusted. Fair point. Just document everything. Date, time, reason for the transfer, in case we need to justify it later. I spent hours on this, planning every detail, every contingency, every possible response Amanda might have and how I'd counter it. I made lists, drew flowcharts, wrote scenarios. My platoon sergeant found me one night in the hooch, surrounded by papers, and he said, "Sir, you're putting more effort into this divorce than some people put into their marriages." "Good," I said, "because I'm going to make sure it sticks." I had 4 months to wait, 4 months to plan, 4 months to let Amanda and Trevor think they were getting away with it. 4 months to watch them get comfortable, careless, arrogant. And then I was coming home. I thought I was fighting for home. Turns out I was just fighting. I also realized Trevor was the weak link. His entire identity was online. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. He'd been posting evidence himself, arrogant and careless. I created an anonymous Instagram account and screenshot everything he'd ever posted. Every country living photo, every yoga pose, every shot at my ranch. I found his Facebook. He was listed as in a relationship, but not with Amanda, with someone else from 2 years ago. He'd apparently never updated it. I found his LinkedIn. He claimed to be CEO of Walsh Wellness Consulting. I checked Montana business records. No LLC, no business license. He was lying. I found his parents on Facebook. Respectable, middle-class family in Bozeman. They had no idea their son was sleeping with a married woman whose husband was deployed. Trevor's whole life was a performance. And I was about to cancel the show. I also needed to secure the ranch. I called Earl, my neighbor who'd known me since I was a kid. "Earl, I need a favor. Amanda's been unfaithful. She might try to damage property or steal things before I get home." "Say no more, son. I'll keep an eye out." I gave Earl permission to check on the house weekly, document any damage, and call the sheriff if needed. I changed all my passwords, bank accounts, email, utilities. I removed Amanda as an authorized user on our joint credit card. I transferred the joint savings to a new individual account. My lawyer said it was legal, given the evidence of infidelity. I put a fraud alert on my credit in case Amanda tried to open cards in my name. I called my parents, sent them the evidence. My mom cried. My dad was furious but proud. He said, "Your grandfather would be proud of how you're handling this. Calm, smart, that's the Hayes way." I also told my battalion commander I was filing for divorce and might need emergency leave if the situation escalated. He was supportive. Granted a family care plan, exception. I had 4 months to wait, 4 months to plan, 4 months for Amanda and Trevor to get comfortable. Then I was coming home. I returned from deployment on November 15th, 2020, landed at Nashville Airport. Didn't tell Amanda I was back. Instead, I drove straight to Montana, a 12-hour drive. I arrived at the ranch at 3 in the morning. Earl was waiting with keys and coffee. "She was here last weekend," he said. "With that punk. I got photos if you need 'em." I walked through my own house like it was a crime scene. Beer bottles in the recycling, brands I didn't drink, unfamiliar food in the fridge. The master bedroom had sheets I didn't recognize. The bathroom had men's body wash and hair gel that weren't mine. In my closet, some of my clothes were missing. I found my grandfather's Stetson on the floor of the guest room, dusty and disrespected. I picked it up carefully, dusted it off, and put it back on the shelf where it belonged. They'd treated my home like a vacation rental. Time to evict them. I coordinated with my lawyer. The divorce papers would be served on December 10th, Amanda's birthday. Amanda was still in Tennessee, still teaching, still posting happy photos with Trevor. She had no idea I was even stateside. I'd been back for 3 weeks. December 10th, 2:30 in the afternoon. The process server walked into Amanda's school, into her third-grade classroom during planning period. The kids were at recess. 2 other teachers were present. He handed Amanda an envelope. She opened it, read the first page. Petition for dissolution of marriage. Grounds, adultery, evidenced by photographic and digital proof. Respondent forfeits all claims to marital assets per prenuptial agreement, section 4.2. Attached was the 8x10 photo of Trevor kissing her on my porch. Amanda's face went white. She tried to call me. Number blocked, texted me, blocked, called the ranch. I didn't answer. She left school early, drove home, found an email from my lawyer waiting with the full evidence packet. At 5 that evening, Amanda called Trevor, hysterical. He knows, he's divorcing me, there's a prenup. Trevor, confused. Okay, so we'll just be together openly now, right? You don't understand. The prenup says I lose everything. What do you mean everything? The ranch isn't mine. The savings aren't mine. I'm getting my car and $12,000. Long silence on the other end of the line. Wait, Trevor said slowly. You said you'd get half. You said we'd move to the ranch together. I thought I would. I didn't think he'd find out. Trevor's tone changed completely. So, you don't actually have money. I have my teaching salary. You're a teacher. You make like $40,000 a year. I thought you didn't care about money. I don't care about money when there is money, Amanda. I'm not trying to be broke. Trevor started distancing immediately, stopped answering calls, removed in a relationship from Facebook, deleted every Instagram photo with Amanda, blocked her by the end of the night. Amanda drove to Trevor's parents' house, where he lived in their basement. His mom answered the door. Trevor doesn't want to see you. Please leave. Amanda sat in her car outside, sobbing, realizing she'd lost everything. Meanwhile, I sent a carefully worded email to key people. Amanda's parents, her sister, 12 mutual friends. Subject line: setting the record straight. The email was direct. I explained that Amanda and I were divorcing, due to her affair during my deployment. I said I had substantial evidence and that the prenuptial agreement protected the ranch. I attached sanitized proof, Instagram screenshots, bank statements showing her lies. I wrote, I'm not sharing this to be cruel, but because I want you to hear the truth from me before you hear a different version from Amanda. I don't expect anyone to take sides, but I do expect honesty in return. The responses came quickly. Amanda's sister: I'm so sorry, Chris, I had no idea. Her parents: we're heartbroken. 3 mutual friends: Team Chris, what can we do? I also sent the full evidence package to the school's HR department with a note. I'm not filing a complaint, but I believe you should be aware that Amanda Hayes was conducting a relationship with a non-employee on school grounds. I trust you'll handle this appropriately. The school launched a quiet inquiry. Amanda got a verbal warning about personal conduct. Nothing fireable, but humiliating. I also changed the locks on the ranch house, hired a cleaning service to deep clean everything, replaced the master bedroom sheets and mattress, symbolic fresh start. Put my grandfather's Stetson back in its proper place, the display case in the living room. I planted a new tree on the property. In Montana, it's tradition when you're starting fresh. Earl came over with a 6-pack of root beer. He knew I didn't drink much. He said, Your granddad would be proud, son. You handled this with honor. I sat on the front porch swing, the one Trevor had defiled, and thought about burning it. But instead I sanded it down, re-stained it, made it new again. Some things are worth saving, some aren't. I was learning the difference. The divorce mediation happened in January 2021. Amanda showed up with a public defender, couldn't afford a private lawyer. I showed up with mine, crisp and prepared. The mediation lasted 4 hours in a sterile conference room. Amanda tried to argue. The prenup is unfair. The mediator shut her down. You signed it. You were represented. It's valid. I deserve something for the 5 years I gave him. You violated the fidelity clause. You get what you brought into the marriage. I didn't know the prenup was that strict. My lawyer pulled out emails. You asked multiple questions about it before signing. We have the receipts. Amanda broke down crying. I sat there, stone-faced, watching her fall apart. Part of me wanted her to hurt this much. Part of me felt sick watching it. I thought, she's still a human. A shitty, selfish human, but still. I felt a flicker of guilt. Then I remembered. Trevor wearing my grandfather's hat. The guilt disappeared. The mediation ended with an agreement. Amanda got the 2015 Civic, $12,000 cash, and her personal belongings. I got the ranch, my truck, all savings, all household items. No alimony. Divorce. Finalized in 60 days. Amanda signed with shaking hands. As she left, she looked at me and whispered, "I'm sorry." I didn't respond. 2 weeks later, Amanda's sister called me. "I'm not asking you to forgive her, but I need you to know she's not doing well." Amanda had lost 15 pounds, started mandatory therapy after a panic attack at school, moved in with her parents at 33 years old, had to take medical leave. Her sister said, "She made a horrible mistake, but she's paying for it." I listened, hung up, sat with that information. Part of me felt vindicated. Part of me felt like a monster. I didn't want her destroyed. I just wanted her to understand what she'd done. But here's the thing. I did want her destroyed. At least I had. Now I wasn't sure. I called my therapist. VA benefits. I'd started going after the deployment. She said, revenge can feel good in the moment, but healing requires something else. I'm not ready to forgive her. I'm not asking you to. I'm asking you to forgive yourself for whatever you're feeling right now. 1 month later, I got a LinkedIn message from Trevor, the only platform I hadn't blocked him on. "Hey man, I know you probably hate me. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I was a different person then. I've grown a lot." I read it, laughed darkly, considered responding with something scathing. Instead, I typed, "You weren't a different person. You were just a person who thought he'd never face consequences. Glad I could help with your personal growth." I sent it, blocked him on LinkedIn. Some people apologize because they're sorry. Some apologize because they finally understand they fucked up. Trevor was the second kind. I didn't care either way. Meanwhile, Trevor's life had imploded too. His parents found out about the affair. Someone sent them screenshots. His mom was mortally embarrassed. His dad kicked him out. Trevor had to couch surf for weeks. His wellness coaching business died because his reputation was shot. The local yoga studio stopped hiring him after the owner heard he'd been sleeping with a married military wife. Trevor tried to save face on social media. Posted some pseudo-inspirational quote. "Sometimes the universe has other plans," got roasted in the comments. The universe's plan didn't include you stealing valor in another man's house. Trevor deleted all social media. Last I heard, he'd moved to Denver, was working at a gym, still living with roommates at 28. I started committing to weekly therapy. Worked through deployment trauma, trust issues, anger management. I wasn't violent, but I was carrying a lot. The therapist helped me see patterns. I'd ignored red flags because I was trained to be loyal. I'd compartmentalized my marriage like a mission. I needed to learn to be vulnerable again. I started journaling. One entry read, "I thought home was a place. Turns out it's a feeling, and I haven't felt it in a long time." I threw myself into ranch work. Fixed fences, repaired the barn, planted new pasture grass. Hired a 19-year-old kid from town as a part-time ranch hand. Started hosting community events again. Summer BBQs for veterans, Thanksgiving dinners for neighbors, Christmas charity drives where I donated beef to the food bank. I reconnected with old friends. Marcus visited from Tennessee. We went fly fishing, Didn't talk about Amanda once. High school buddies welcomed me back to weekly poker night. The church community was supportive, even though I wasn't particularly religious. Earl became a surrogate grandfather. We worked cattle together. He shared stories about my actual grandfather. He said, "Your granddad always said, land heals, but you gotta let it." 6 months post-divorce, July 28-21, I went on my first date. Her name was Sarah Mackenzie, 32, a veterinarian who'd grown up 2 towns over. We met at a community fundraiser where she was treating ranch animals for free. Coffee date at the local diner. Low pressure. Conversation was easy. We talked about ranching, animals, Montana weather. She knew about the divorce. Small towns don't keep secrets, but she didn't pry. At the end, she said, "I'm not looking for anything serious right now." I smiled. "Good, neither am I." We hugged. I drove home and realized I didn't think about Amanda once during that entire hour. We went on 3 more dates over the next month. It was slow, cautious, but genuine. Sarah met Earl. Earl approved. She's got good sense, that one. By August, we were seeing each other regularly. Not official, but consistent. I also decided to leave active duty Army. My contract was up in 2022. I took a National Guard position, 1 weekend a month, kept my rank and benefits, and focused on running the ranch full-time. Hired a small team, modernized operations, started selling beef online, offering ranch tours for veterans. Financially, I was stable, comfortable, not rich, but not struggling. I realized this was what I wanted all along. I just thought I needed someone else to make it complete. Turns out I didn't. One evening, I sat on the front porch swing, the one I'd refinished, at sunset. Drank coffee, watched the cattle graze. My dog Scout, a rescue I'd adopted post-divorce, sat at my feet. Sarah texted, "Dinner tomorrow." I smiled, texted back, "Yeah, my place." I felt content for the first time in years. It's been 18 months since the divorce was finalized. June 2022. Here's where everyone ended up. Amanda's still teaching in Tennessee. Took her a year to get out of her parents' house. She rents a small apartment now, drives the same Civic. Mostly keeps to herself, doesn't have many friends. A mutual acquaintance said she seems okay but quieter. Sad, maybe. She sent me one final email a few months ago. I read it, didn't respond. "I know you'll never forgive me and I don't blame you. I just wanted you to know I understand what I lost. I hope you're happy. You deserve to be. A. I don't hate her anymore. I don't think about her much at all. That's its own kind of closure. Trevor's still in Denver, working at a gym, no social media presence. According to someone who knew him, he's just there. Nobody really talks about him. Trevor was never the villain. He was just a symptom. The real problem was that Amanda and I wanted different things, and she was too much of a coward to just leave. As for me, I'm still with Sarah. We're not engaged, but it's serious. She's moved some things to the ranch. The ranch is thriving. Expanded beef operation, added agritourism. I'm healthy, fit, mentally in a good place. I keep in touch with Marcus and my Army buddies. Still go to therapy occasionally. Maintenance, I call it. One evening last week, I stood on the porch. Sarah was inside cooking dinner. I looked out at the land, the sunset, the cattle. I thought back to the deployment, the betrayal, the rage. I thought I was fighting for home. Turns out I was just fighting. Home isn't a place you inherit. It's not even a place you protect. Home is what you build with people who give a damn. The ranch is still here. I'm still here. Sarah's here. Scout's here. That's enough. Sarah called from inside. "Dinner's ready." I turned, walked through the door, and closed it behind me. Yeah, I'm home. If you're going through something like this, here's what I learned. The revenge feels good for about 5 minutes. The healing takes 5 years, but the healing is worth it. Find your home, build it with the right people, and never let anyone make you question your worth.